So today we're talking about America's most underrated medicine, and that is getting a good night of sleep. The factor that I see affect most people, affects me, affects my wife, is affecting my children, unfortunately, are these screens. And
sleep is not being unconscious, first and foremost. I mean, there's a component of that, but sleep is a very complicated process that is about healing, recovery, fixing your brain, fixing your tissues. You can find the things that you need, but we do need supplementation. It's sleep hygiene through nature is really what it is, because you don't have the ability to have any of these other distractions.
The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and it does not establish a physician-patient or pharmacist-patient relationship. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not constitute medical advice. This content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any medical condition. Always consult with a licensed healthcare provider in your area before making any changes to your personal healthcare regimen or acting on any medical information shared in this podcast.
hey, welcome back everybody to the Dose Adjustment Podcast. My name is Amir Rahimi. My co-host today, Kris Hasenauer. Welcome back.
Hey, brother.
I hope you got a good night's sleep.
Yeah, no, sleep is magical, man.
Indeed, indeed. So today we're talking about America's most underrated medicine, and that is getting a good night of sleep. But before we jump into that, I want to talk a little bit about why is it that big tech, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever the other sites are, why are they so invested in keeping us scrolling on these phones minute after minute, hour after hour, going down the rabbit hole, as I call it, which I truly feel is killing on some nights, much better now, killing my sleep. What's the deal here? What are they trying to accomplish?
Follow the money. I mean, that's our theme, right? No, it is. I mean, you're interacting with the program, you're interacting with ads, you're giving them data, which, I mean, you are the commodity. I mean, we are the commodity for big tech, right? Which we all know that. I mean, we work in sales. We know how this stuff, we do sales stuff with our businesses. You need that consumer-based information. The more you can get, the better you can drive ads, you can drive all these things. I mean, all of the data that you put out there is available. And so, but as far as the sleep thing and then diving down the rabbit hole, I mean, that's the idea, but there's design into the addictive design of the tech. From the color patterns. I mean, something as simple as changing your phone screen to black and white will reduce your addiction to Facebook.
Really?
Yep, you can go in the settings and change it, turning it back to black and white, changing some of the haptics where you're not getting the sensory input, because what do you ultimately do? You dump dopamine. Yep. You get that dopamine response.
And I bring this up because, as we were preparing for this podcast, I sleep pretty good. I've got 80% sleep hygiene. We'll talk about that on some nights. But I think the factor that I see affect most people, affects me, affects my wife, is affecting my children, unfortunately, are these screens. And they're good at what they do. That algorithm is good because that next video is kind of interesting to me. And it's kind of funny to me. And it's kind of... I
mean, I can go down the rabbit hole with that on blue light screens and the invention of the, blue light thing. I mean, you really want to go down like the Joe Rogan style CIA rabbit hole on that. That could be a whole other thing. We'll talk about all that. But the idea of it is, so blue light screens, they absolutely increase your brain activity, right? You're not going to go into that RAS system's not going to kick in for you to start that sleep cycle. That blue light interrupts your circadian rhythm, all of these things that go into it, right? So when you look at sleep throughout human history, up until the advent of the fucking light bulb, what happened? You went to sleep when it got dark.
Yep, 100%. Right? So, made some love and went to bed, right? Yeah. Well, maybe we get back to that. Yeah. But, all right, so listen, be careful of the phones. We're going to get into it in great detail. Realize that not all companies here in the U.S. have your best interest in mind, whether it be food, whether it be medicine, whether it be big tech. They are trying to steal your time and attention that is so desperately needed for sleep. And for me, I think you can do almost everything right. You can exercise correctly. You can eat way, I don't want to say perfect, but eat way better. You can take your medication as prescribed. You can go see your primary care provider, which we've talked so much about, and you cannot make the progress
Without
that
sleep.
you're looking to in your health.
Absolutely.
If you don't get your sleep right. And I think my wife is a great example of this, and she's frustrated. She's probably frustrated with me that we're talking about this, but she does so many things correctly, right? She's given up Starbucks. She's given up sugar in her coffee at church. We eat meat and vegetables and fruit sometimes, pretty like religiously. And she feels like she isn't getting the results that she's looking for. And she's done it for a sustained period of time. It's not like the 1 week where my abs sing.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we, really identified in this last year of having a very young child is that she is up late. For a year, she was getting up with the baby every time the baby needed to feed. And now that the baby is sleeping more, just getting up one time a night, she is still the one getting up because I'm going to work and I'm doing other things. I'm not saying that's the right way or the only way, but that's, something that she helps cover for me. And now that the baby's sleeping maybe more through the night, he doesn't want to go to bed until midnight, 1:30, and I'm like, I'm going to sleep, and she's the one staying up. And so it is tremendously slowing her progress on her health goals. And I think for, I'll say 80% of America, maybe 90% of America, we are not sleeping properly, and it's contributing to chronic disease.
Absolutely. I mean, to the point where, we've connected it with sleep apnea. There's the whole litany of it, right? So what is sleep? Sleep is not being unconscious, first and foremost. I mean, there's a component of that, but sleep is a very complicated process that is about healing, recovery, fixing your brain, fixing your tissues. It is a huge metabolic and chemical undertaking for your body.
Right.
Right? And it is absolutely crucial. I mean, the sleep deprivation studies that they did on people, they've actually killed people from keeping them awake. I mean, they did studies on this, whether it was the Nazis or our own government or whoever. I mean, they've done studies on it. There's people who've done it, right?
Military experiment.
So there's, and what it does, and there's people that, like there's the video of the guy that was the radio host from the 40s.
Okay.
That or not video, I guess it was him talking, but they kept this guy up, and you can kind of pull it up on YouTube and listen to the thing, but they kept this guy up for 7 days straight, or 8 days or something, and just kept him on the radio and just kept him talking, and you could hear the man deteriorate, and like following the story, he never came back from it. Like that one,
permanent damage.
Permanent damage.
Yeah.
So the sleep and like what we do with it. So let's go into that.
So some of the critical functions of sleep, I think you called them out a little bit, but it's cellular repair, right? It's hormone release, growth hormone release. Yeah. Your body's immune system is going in, cleaning up any damaged cells, potentially cancer cells, rebuilding muscle tissue. So, as a kid, I used to think when I went to the gym and I lifted really heavy, and then I started looking at my arm to see how much bigger it got, right? And obviously as adults, we learned it doesn't work that way. We break the tissues down in the gym or in life, right? And then we repair overnight. But I know guys who go to CrossFit gyms 5 days a week and, drink 5, 6, 7 drinks and get 4 hours of sleep and wonder why they don't get results. I've been going to the gym, like, well, you look like crap still, just so you know. Frankly, so proud of going to the gym, but sleep is a crucial component there. Insulin resistance, metabolic disease.
Cortisol. I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about there. Like, so your cortisol is diametrically opposed to your sex hormones.
100%.
Right? So like you got this high spiked cortisol because you're not sleeping, your insulin sensitivity, and then so you can't feed the cells.
Yeah.
You can't reduce the stress, the metabolic stress. You're just tearing your body down because there is no recovery cycle. And even God took a break, right?
100%. I'll give you a great example. Last night, we got to bed kind of late. There was a release of this new product. My son wanted to, so we were up for that and some other things. And I finally got to bed a little bit after 12:30, just getting into some good sleep. And my second oldest son, he comes down and he's crying, right, which is very uncharacteristic. He's about 10 years old. He doesn't suffer from any sort of night terrors. He's coming down crying. So I jump out. Stress hormones are up a little bit. I'm up at 1:30, right? And he ended up having a toothache, and we got it taken care of. Luckily, I had a Gorilla Meds kit, on hand, and so we looked through that and got it taken care of. But I've been wearing, not because I'm diabetic, but because I'm just interested, I've been wearing a continuous glucose monitor,
Yeah.
right? And all day long, I stayed under 120, even through eating, steak for lunch and a couple protein bars and protein drinks. My glucose levels went up to 145 just from getting up and breaking that sleep and having that little stress event,
Yeah.
which is absolutely wild. So not getting sleep, being up.
Yeah, because
insulin
you dumped all
resistance.
that. Dumped all that glycogen. You got so you spike the sugar in your body. Yeah, all of those things, right? So those stress events they matter. Then we talk about like circadian rhythms, right? Like human beings work on a rhythm,
Right.
right? Well, all of these lights override that rhythm, right? Like we were essentially not very much like not nocturnal beings, for a long, long time. Like, okay, we build a fire, we go to sleep.
Yeah.
Our bodies don't recover from that. And sleep is incredibly melatonin. Melatonin is a great example of something that is sold widely as something that it's not.
Tell me more.
Melatonin is not a sleeping pill.
Right.
Melatonin is a hormone.
Yep.
A hormone that is released around sundown
Yeah.
to make your brain start the sleep cycle.
Right.
So people should take their melatonin at dinner time, about 2 milligrams, because think of it like a match that you throw onto a brush fire. If you're going to have this thing go over your brain to start the cycle, melatonin's that first domino that's going to start out. So people are like, I took my melatonin right before I went to bed, and then I finally got some sleep about 4 hours later. It's like, yeah, because the melatonin finally kicked in.
Yep. Agreed. What about mental health, focus, depression, anxiety?
All of it, right? So sleep is this, again, incredibly complicated issue because you need it, but all of these other things mess with it. Hypertension, blood pressure's too high, you're not going to fall asleep, right?
Yep.
You have depression, PTSD, anxiety. You have other things that are going on that aren't going to let you sleep. All the sleep hygiene steps, no screen time, blackout curtains, dimming the lights, eating the right foods, all of these things. Yeah, there is this great thing. If you do this, your sleep will be great. The ability to do that in the average human being's day-to-day existence, nearly impossible.
Nearly impossible. But we're going to get you
as close as we can.
As close as we can. We're going to just adjust the dose a little bit and get you there.
And we'll talk about it because all of those things matter. So yeah, those are all pieces. So do as much of that as you possibly can. The way that your brain kind of shuts down. So we can get into sleep as a general, but then you talk about nightmares, like where we're on the mental health side. So back myself, my PTSD gave me night terrors for 20 years. I didn't take any sleep. Like I've gone through a ton of treatment for this and all the things. Finally got my sleep fixed. My genetics testing, I don't do benzodiazepines. Like I don't process benzodiazepines. So like if I take one, it stays and it floors me. So it's like it cannot take them. Trazodone was a wonderful drug for me. It had the serotonin antidepressant effects in the morning when you wake up. It's got that sweet spot of sleep for what I needed it for. Now, from adjusting my sleep, sobriety, fixing my diet, the only thing I currently take to go to sleep is magnesium, melatonin, and that's it.
A little bit of mag change.
A little bit of mag change. And I've got it down to that, and it's great, but it's just like you said, it's those sleep hygiene things.
Yeah, and just for our listeners, when he talks about benzodiazepines, you probably know them more commonly as like Ativan or the lorazepam, alprazolam, and I'm forgetting the last one, of course, but clonazepam.
Yeah.
And so typically these will help the brain to calm down, but they also will have a relaxing effect on the entire body, so the skeletal muscle, and can help with anxiety as well. Trazodone in the same way, and I think, if I understand it correctly, we see the trazodone prescribed more for sleeping when there is an anxiety and depression
component
to it as well.
Yeah, so trazodone more in your sleep issue is a symptom of a behavioral health issue.
Right.
Now, in the case of, let's talk about Emily again. In the case of breastfeeding mother, like your options are obviously limited.
Yeah.
Right? You have these hormone changes, you have these cortisol dumps, you have these things. So what are you going to do for that? That's where your vitamins, your melatonins, these things that you can take, and then finding where these sleep hygiene things matter, because those scheduling and those sleep hygiene things are really all you have in your armament to deal with the problem. And then understanding like temperature, like they say your bedroom should, be in the mid 60s. You sleep better in a cool room, like the darkness of screens, all those things.
100%.
Spicy foods, like whatever.
Spicy foods is no-go, right?
Yeah, I mean, spicy food is absolutely no-go for me, man. They destroy me.
I love eating Indian late at night. The last thing I'll mention on the risk factor side is cancer. So poor sleep or shift work, I think more specifically shift work, is a known carcinogen. And I remember hearing the statistic about 10 years ago when I was working a lot of overnight shifts in the pharmacy. Even worse, I was working the daytime shifts and the overnight shifts, right? Going back to that hustle culture and trying to make it work for our family. And I had heard that statistic that, it's a known carcinogen. And you start to look around, and I would sub in for a pharmacist who worked regularly overnight, 7 on, 7 off. Yeah. And he ended up getting cancer in his eye. Yeah. And I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe there's something to this here. And so I was that really goofy pharmacist at like 10 o'clock. I had the blue blocking glasses on, but before they were cool, so they looked like I was. I don't think they were ever cool. Well, now they've got the Ray-Bans and everything. I think the glasses that look like yours that'd be blue blocking. Yeah. But back in the day, they literally looked like you were at the firing range. They were just these big yellow goggles, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm not getting cancer. But we talked about the rise of cancer, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And sleep deprivation or getting poor sleep can definitely contribute to that.
Some of the poor sleep stuff because really, what are you doing there? Like sleep is anti-inflammatory.
100%.
Right? So you need that neuro anti-inflammatory rest component to sort your brain out. So like when we have dreams, that's like our brain defragging the hard drive.
100% agree.
Sleep is doing that, right? And then we're getting those metabolic waste products out of our brain. We're recovering. We're doing these things. So if you do have poor sleep and you're getting these things, what are some other things you can do with it? Well, high-dose creatine. Like a bad night of sleep. Like it's super interesting stuff, and like everything else we do, but pretty much try it all on myself before we talk about it. So I was like, this has got to be bullshit. High-dose creatine, 30 grams. Yeah. Like within 4 hours, you will get some that shitty night of sleep will kind of go away. I'm not saying slam creatine every night and keep a crappy sleep schedule, but it's something you can do to recover. Methylene blue, like these other things that are supplements, not addictive. The side effect profile, because again, anything that we do, the whole thing is a dose adjustment, right? Yep. Lowest possible dose, least number of side effects to get the desired result.
Well, I know you brought up Mag Change earlier, which was like a triple blend of magnesium, including magnesium L-threonate. Probably the greatest supplement in the world for me and my sleep. So Emily and I take it every night. Every chance I get to dump it into my kids' smoothies, I'm doing that. I got some kids that will take supplements, and we don't over supplement them by any means. We try to get the best variety of fruits and vegetables that we can, which is difficult. High quality vegetables and fruits here.
Well, it's all of that, but it's also we don't even eat seasonally. Like if you just look like how did human beings eat? Like you look at these things, you're like, what do we do? Like, well, I remember my grandmother, she was like, green M&Ms are not a vegetable.
Fair enough.
But all those things, but you can find the things that you need, but we do need supplementation, right? Because even vitamin D, you need vitamin D to sleep. So if your vitamin D levels are off, you're not going to sleep well.
Yeah, and I think something that you and I have both seen right here in the great state of Florida, the Sunshine State, nearly every individual who does not supplement with vitamin D is deficient in vitamin D.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the fact that people are so low on vitamin D that Blue Cross Blue Shield will no longer pay for vitamin D test.
Because they just know. It's just a given. Not that they pay for anything anyways.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. But yeah, so no, they owe me $1 too. But yeah, so you look at that, like, so what do we have, like sunscreens? Like, okay, so we need vitamin D and we need sunlight to activate the vitamin D to make it better, metabolically active to use. Vitamin D, calcium, magnesium, work on these metabolic pathways that synergistically, like you need them all to make them work.
Yep.
Right? And again, it goes back to, we're calling it supplementation. Like there's not a reason to take 20,000% of anything, but what you want to do is get your daily allowances dialed in. And sometimes you need more of it in pill form so that your body will actually take it in to get the supplementation. We understand that because like in the case of vitamin B or water-soluble things, I inject you with it and we bypass the liver and the stomach acid. Oh, it lasts a week. Well, you need to take that same dose daily orally because
to produce the same effect.
Mechanism and delivery matter. I mean, you know that, you're a pharmacist, so we have to teach our patients that. Because you will get those questions, like, why am I taking this and this for my sleep? So, like, my my sleep regimen is melatonin at dinner time, because by the time it is time to go to sleep, that melatonin will be kicking in. If you need to take whatever you're going to take, if you have a pharmaceutical adjunct like Lunesta, Trazodone, an Ambien, which we try to stay away from those as much as possible because.
Yeah, well, let's jump into those real quick.
Okay.
I think there's going to be some questions, and we'll get into the sleep hygiene piece. So when we talk about, I guess we'll focus on Ambien and Lunesta, right? Those are the two that we see the most commonly prescribed. They are what we call Z-class sleep aids, and they work similarly to benzodiazepines. So it's going to actually act on the GABA receptors, if I remember all the way back to pharmacy school. But these are more selective for the alpha A1 GABA receptor. So you're getting the sleepiness effect from these medications without the muscle relaxation
effect,
which, certainly we may not be desirable.
Well, and you think about it, think of it from the safety standpoint. This is kind of nerding out on medicine. It may be a little too deep, but what was the safety idea of that? We don't want to get muscle relaxation to the point of respiratory
Failure,
right? Like that's the whole thing that we're avoiding, because those medications, when not even at higher doses, don't have that side effect profile to that degree, right? Whereas a Valium or something else would. Now, when we look at those, Lunesta in long-term use increases depression risk. Ambien has all kinds of side effects for people with Ambien. Like Ambien, kind of like everything else, was not the wonder drug that it was purported to be when it came out. But there is a place and a need. Sometimes people, so if you have a traumatic event, if you're great for jet lag. Like I'm gonna go, okay, you're gonna travel. Well, here's 3 days of this, so that when you get to country, you can swap time zones pretty easily. They have their uses. Now, if you have to take a sleep medication, so we kind of went over Lunesta, Ambien, Trazodone. When do you take it? 45 minutes to an hour before bed, because you want to take it, get it in your body, and then you lay down, right? So like all of them kind of have a window of therapeutic efficacy.
Sure.
Like when they're going to work. So like Trazodone, about 90 minutes, you're going to be sleepy. In an hour, you're going to be sleepy for about 90 minutes. If you don't fall asleep in that 90 minutes, not going to really work for you.
Right.
So that's where the sleep hygiene stuff comes in.
100%.
Now, by using those medications to improve your sleep hygiene, you're eventually not going to necessarily need the medications, because that's the goal. Like, if we can do X, Y, Z, can we improve it by treating all the causes? So if it's a mental health thing, can we work your depression, your anxiety, your PTSD through other means so that that insomnia symptom is reduced?
So simultaneously, like you're working through it, you're getting better sleep.
Yes.
And eventually getting off the medication.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
That's my man. And so, and just again, if you happen to take one of these medications, the way that I've always perceived it is Ambien, or sometimes we use Zalplon as well. Really great for helping you get to sleep. And the Lunesta, from my perspective, has a longer duration of action.
Yes.
Better for what we call like sleep maintenance or keeping you asleep. So if your doctor's put you on one of those medications, a prescriber, there's probably, depends on that interview that he had with, hopefully he had a great interview with you.
Yeah.
And what's going on.
Right. Because if you have insomnia, but then you have insomnia because you have nightmares, like you're afraid to go to sleep, that's a whole different thing. Right? Because somebody having night terrors on Ambien is terrifying, because they're having the night terrors and they can't wake up.
Yeah.
So they're like out there, right? So then you have other things. Like then you talk about like Prazosin. Because why do we wake up from night terrors? Because our blood pressure goes flying up. And that RAS system's like, oh, it's time to be awake. Well, as our brain's moving from that level of sleep up to a conscious level, we're remembering that nightmare. So that night terror's waking us up or whatever's happening, and we wake up with all those panic symptoms because our brain, who was in the middle of defragging its hard drive, that it got interrupted. And now we're back where we started and we're having these symptoms. So if we keep your blood pressure down with this low dose of Prazosin, or good cardiovascular workout where you have great blood pressure control, right? You will stave off those symptoms because you won't get the blood pressure spike, because your body will compensate for it. Then you will reduce the nightmare. If you can finish nightmares, the working theory, and I'd say working theory, but I mean, I've lived this, I've experienced it. When you process and finish nightmares and process them therapeutically, they will stop. You can get them to stop. I had the same nightmare every night for 20 years. It was horrible. And when that stopped, that was like the most beautiful gift from the universe and everything that I had ever done.
So 20 years, was it 20 years of intervention and therapeutic conversations, or like what got you over that hump?
I was a horrible patient. So what got me over the hump was what Vic said. I had my own behavioral health issues the last few years, and I've been working through. But like what got me through it was really learning all this stuff and putting it into practice. But I mean, from it was like 2003 to about 2019, I think I slept about 4 hours a night for all of that time.
Yeah.
You know, and I would have nightmares and night terrors and all the things that came with.
And this is during your active duty military time. Is this, were you out partying all night, or were you out raiding all night and then partying all night? Like, what is that lifestyle?
So it yes, no. I mean, all of it is just, it really didn't matter what I was doing. I just wouldn't sleep.
Gotcha.
Like it
Sleep when you're dead.
And for a while, for me, my substance abuse problem, because I'd drink myself to sleep.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't work because unconsciousness is not sleep.
100%.
Passing out drunk is not sleeping. If you think it is, give us a call. I'll explain all the differences and talk you through all of that. And it just changes. But it really is. It's a defragmentation, a vital part of your recovery, a vital part of your health. And it is the most beautiful thing to finally get to sleep. You're like, oh my God, where has this been?
Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
when it is, it's unbelievable.
Well, I'm going to go through some of just the tips that I have around sleep hygiene, and then fill in whatever I miss or something that would work differently for you. I had terrible sleep for many years when I was working overnight. For whatever reason, we were just so hard charging on getting our debt paid off. And we'd gotten such a hole through grad school and whatnot that I would just take any shift, anytime I was down to ride. And it ended up, I had gained, probably about 30 pounds. And it all came to a crescendo when we were trying to have our first child. And literally we could not get pregnant.
Yep.
Right. And there could be, at least for me, there was nothing more defeating at that point when we had planned to have a family. We had waited to have a family. I'm working my tail off to be able to afford to have a family, not being able to get pregnant. And it was finally when I started to get my diet under control and I got my sleep under control. I'd read a book by Sean Stevenson. He's not a medical doctor, I don't think, but the best book I've ever written read on sleep. And so the ideas that I remember and I've carried forward through the last 10 years, one, in the evening, we really try not to watch any TV 1 hour before bed. Easier said than done. I won't say that I haven't watched a movie and fallen asleep. I still do it about once a week, just because I need some wind down time. But when we're really on our game, all the TVs are off an hour before. We have these lights in the house too that are, they lack blue light. They're super easy to get on Amazon or wherever. Just type in non-blue light bulbs. They are in our bedroom and they are in our living room where we try to do some reading at night. I hate reading, like physical reading. I'm not a fan of it, and it will put me to sleep every time, especially with that lower light. You had mentioned alcohol. I think when we're younger, we think, hey, let's just have beers until we fall asleep. And you are absolutely right. It is the worst night of sleep of your life, because you will fall asleep and you will wake up 2 hours later and you will be dehydrated. You will be going to the bathroom. You will not be getting back to sleep. If you're like me, from the dehydration, I'm going to have a headache, right? Not a good night of sleep, avoiding alcohol. I think we'll talk more about this in future episodes. There is nothing good that alcohol,
now, like the whole
health-wise,
no, there's not. There's no medical, absolutely not. They try. They're like, oh, a glass of red wine, a beer here, tannins, like whatever. That's bullshit.
We could talk maybe about some of the stress relaxing benefits, but regardless, when it comes to sleep, alcohol is not your friend in any way. We keep the bedroom cool. I think you mentioned that. And then I've got a product called, it's not a chili pad. It's called an Uller, but it's the evolution of the chili pad. Yeah. And so this thing literally goes right on the top of my bed, and I can dial it down to about 65 degrees. It does amazing for helping me sleep. And then it'll actually rise in the morning, bring me up to temperature, and to the point where it's annoying to be in my bed. It's 115 degrees. I feel gross, and I get out of bed at 6 o'clock. But keeping the bedroom cool. And then, go ahead.
Yeah, and then that temperature thing. That's that whole thing about that whole RAS cycle. That temperature rise, because your body's temperature rises anyway as you're about to wake up. That temperature rise raises your blood pressure, stimulates consciousness, blood starts going back to all the parts the brain needs to go to, and you wake up.
Yeah, and I have no desire to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So that has been just a great hack. We were super extreme. I took black electrician's tape and I covered every LED light in my bedroom. I think some have creeped back in more recently, but I was down to the point where we understand there's actually light receptors on our skin. So even if your eyes are closed, like your skin, and I think if from like an evolutionary standpoint, I think your skin's perceiving that sun's coming up, right? And people are coming out to kill you. Animals are coming out to kill you. Your enemy is coming out to kill you. I should get up. And the temperature, same thing.
And it's interesting because like you talked about the shift work and military operations typically go down at night and the different things that go with that. But there is absolutely that. Just think about when you go camping, and you go camping and you sleep outside for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours because you're hiking or whatever. It's like the best sleep you'll ever get. Like that outside camping sleep. Now, getting there, is it because you hiked and you're outside and all that? But I mean, there's something to that, Or like if I'm on a boat and I sleep, like you sleep right on a boat. Like there's pieces of that is like now the anxiety's down because you've reduced and you've done all of these things. I think it kind of is it's sleep hygiene through nature is really what it is, because you don't have the ability to have any of these other distractions.
Yeah, and from distractions, again, we talked about not watching TV late at night. If you have the ability, and I don't, because I'm the on-call pharmacist for 2.5 counties here in the state of Florida, so night or day I have to have my phone near me, but there was a time where it wasn't that way, and I was able to actually put my phone out in the other room. Greatest night of sleep I got. So I wasn't checking my phone before bed. I wasn't checking Facebook or TikTok, or I don't even do TikTok. But, I wasn't on those things. When I went into the bedroom, I got ready for bed. So keeping your phone away from you can be hugely important. Magnesium supplementation was a huge part of Sean Stevenson's book. Again, I know you and I both take Mag Change from T1RX, complete game changer. So a couple different blends of magnesium that will actually calm the muscle down and calm the mind down.
And the way that it's broken down, that crossing that blood-brain barrier more quickly, because that's
magnesium L-threonate.
Yeah, so that threonate gets in there and it hits the brain. You're just like and it's very subtle.
Yeah,
that's what's nice, because you're not like, I'm gonna go sleep, or like you have people take Z-Quil, Benadryl. I'll leave this one. All sleep medicines that are over the counter are just Benadryl. Yeah. So if anybody doesn't know that, it is all Benadryl. It's diphenhydramine, and
it's not recommended
for sleep. It is not good.
Even if I'm not your pharmacist, it is not recommended in a short-term issue. If you happen to get stung by 9 bees and you're trying to go to sleep, maybe it'd be beneficial. But long-term use of Benadryl
is bad for your
100%.
Bad for the brain.
100% agree. And then last but not least, we talked a little bit about this in the pre-show, but he had stated in the book that actually, having sexual activity or having an orgasm before bed is incredibly helpful to sleep. And 10 years later, I can say I sleep like a baby, right? If I get some time to have some action before bed. So if you're going to implement one thing, I think that's the winner right there.
There you go.
But tried and true, right? So I think there's a sense of accomplishment. There's obviously a flood of feel-good hormones, sense of accomplishment afterwards, and like your work is done for the day. So those are my sleep hygiene tips. What did I miss?
No, I think that covers it. I mean, I think that if you have any questions on it, please reach out. If you're on a litany of sleep meds or things that you're taking that aren't working, definitely reach out, because there is a solution. As in the last thing is, we recommend 7 to 9 hours of sleep, understanding that some people do need less. So you need to talk to your primary care, develop your relationships, and get your questions answered. But if you are not sleeping, it is absolutely the best thing you can do for yourself, for your overall health and well-being.
Yeah, 100%. So at the end of the day, the adjustment isn't necessarily adding another pill right away. It could be pharmacological intervention with your PCP for the shortest duration possible. But long term, we know that taking benzodiazepines, taking even Z-class drugs like Ambien and Lunesta give you a higher probability of having depression, dementia, and other things long-term, premature death. So we want to do it for the shortest amount of time possible. Sleep hygiene, review these things. They work. They're tried and true by professionals around the world. They are undeniable. They're not controversial, like the SNAP food program.
Sleep is one of the few things in medicine that is not controversial. There is no one that's you don't need that.
But it will absolutely change your life if you're struggling to get ahead in your goals, whether it be in disease state management, whether it be your fitness goals, weight loss goals. Make sure your sleep is dialed in. It has a huge impact.
Absolutely.
All right, until next time, this is the Dose Adjustment. In episode 6, we are going to be talking about metabolic disease, the driver of other chronic diseases, early deaths, and maybe a little bit more detail about what to do about it.
Thank you.
Take care.
The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only, and it does not establish a physician-patient or pharmacist-patient relationship. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not constitute medical advice. This content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any medical condition. Always consult with a licensed healthcare provider in your area before making any changes to your personal healthcare regimen or acting on any medical information shared in this podcast.